Welcome to ADSN's post-game coverage of the Mavericks' 122-84 victory over the Hornets Wednesday at the Spectrum Center. Michael Freer along with Brian Hedrick, and it was really over early. 42 points, 10 threes for the Mavericks in the first quarter, and, that was it.
Yeah, the Hornets uninspired, and that word is too nice. They got down by, 16 at the end of one, and they had an okay defensive second quarter. I think they only gave up 20 or something like that, but they just lacked the competitive spirit to win an NBA game, and that's not my words. That's what Coach James Borrego told us.
We're just going to have to dig through it. This is a difficult, stretch for us. Obviously, with two starters being down, our margin for error is very small anyway. And then you lose two starters, and then we lost, Malik Monk there. I'm just going to have to dig through the film. We're just going to have to get creative and figure it out. There's not one solution right now on the table to resolve, what's going on here. We just have to dig through it. Guys have to step up, play better. We'll look at changing the lineup, rotations if we need to. All that's on the table. But at the end of the day, we got to come out and compete. At the end of the day, we got to compete. And I just didn't feel like, even in that second half, we still didn't have the right competitive spirit to get us through an NBA game. And that was disappointing. So no matter what, no matter who's on the floor, no matter who's out, we got to come with a resiliency and a competitive spirit, bottom line.
This game was disturbing from so many levels, but what awaits them on the West Coast may be even more disturbing, Michael. This game may be the catalyst for change. I watched Mitch Kupchak's expression during the second and third quarters, and all he could do was sit there with his hand and his fist resting on his chin. It was very disturbing.
They're under 500 again. The longer they keep going under 500, around 500, the talk is going to be about Kemba's future. Yeah. Talk is going to be a lot of people's future. This game was really disappointing from the Hornets standpoint, given, as you just mentioned, we talked about in the pregame, what lies ahead for this team.
Right.
A really tough road trip out west coming up, beginning with the best team in the West on Saturday, the Denver Nuggets. And to come out, really, I wouldn't even say flat, because they were in the game for about half of the quarter, right. And then Dallas just could not miss from three, and they never got themselves back in it, the Hornets.
I don't know what's more disturbing, the fact that they gave up 42 points in the first quarter, or the fact that Willy Hernangomez was so flat. He played so uninspired. He missed so many easy buckets, and he was so inactive around the basket. When I talked about in the pregame about his offensive or his need to get involved in the offensive rebounding game, he did none of that. He stood around. He allowed much smaller guys to score and abuse him in the post, and he just did not pursue any loose balls. That, to me, is disturbing because of his athleticism. He is an athletic guy. He is a big guy, but he stands around like his feet are glued to the floor. I don't get it. It's baffling.
Well, you may be seeing why the Knicks did not have any problems giving him up last year.
Right.
At right around this time of the year.
Right.
The other thing, the Hornets started Devontae Graham and Hernangomez because Jeremy Lamb, because Cody Zeller are out. So he had to go with a lineup change. He took a chance, James Borrego did, and it really didn't work out. We mentioned during the game it was a matchup nightmare, especially when it came to who didn't guard Dennis Smith Jr., had to guard Wesley Matthews, and either Kemba or Devontae Graham had no answer for either one, really, Dennis Smith and Wesley Matthews.
And that chatter about Kemba Walker's contract and his future with the Hornets is going to become a scream and a yell and a roar as we approach the All-Star break. Because if you look at this team, part of the problem with the Hornets, Michael, is that they're so hamstrung by all these massive contracts. You talk about Nicholas Batum's contract, $22 million. Jeremy Lamb's making a lot of money. I think Malik Monk is making a lot of money for some reason. And then add to that Kemba Walker making $12 million. They are so hamstrung for so many years. If they look at the option of signing him, and I don't want to start this conversation now because it might be short-lived and they might turn around the season, But this team is really, really kind of handcuffed for years to come if they do make that decision to invest in Kemba's future.
The longer they go at the 500 mark, the longer they just hang around there, it's going to be, the question's going to get brought up more and more about what is his future. Now, the Hornets, we just mentioned, go out on a really tough road trip. They now play 10 of their next 13 games this month on the road. That's the most road games of any team in the NBA, and they're playing teams, as we mentioned in the pregame, they're playing the best team in the West, the Nuggets. They're playing the best team
right
in the
off
East.
The bat.
Right off
they
the
get
bat,
the
Saturday
Nuggets.
night.
Yeah.
Later on, they get the best team in the East, the Bucks. They get the hottest team from December, the Pacers. They get three of the top three scoring teams from December in the Celtics, the Kings, and the Spurs. They play all these teams on the road in January. So this was not the game to come out flat and really expect to come away with a good January.
I have a question for you. If the Hornets hypothetically come back 0-6 from this road trip, what consequences lie ahead? And before you say no consequences, it's business as usual, I'll call your bluff. Because if they come back 0-6 off this road trip, I guarantee you there's movement, and I guarantee you we get more Kemba Walker on the trading block talk, because you cannot go on. This team would get bounced in the playoffs with a quickness. With who they are right now, Michael, they had 3 players that they started in the G League from last week on the floor in the fourth quarter. Unacceptable. No
question. This is really a make it or break it month for the Charlotte Hornets. There's no question about it. A terrible loss, 38-point loss Wednesday night here at the Spectrum Center for the Charlotte Hornets. 122-84 is your final. Mavericks come up with just their 3rd road win of the year. 3-16 on the road now for the Mavericks. So we'll see what they do. Next home game is January 17th. And
seems like an eternity away, doesn't it?
It may actually be that way. But for Michael Freer and Ryan Hedrick, thank you for watching the ADSN post-game coverage. We'll be back at you next time the Hornets are in town.